Pilgrim Village. I'm Erin Parsons, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about everything soy wax. So today I'm going to be sharing with you the experiment that I did with all of our soy waxes that we have that are meant for containers. So what I've done is I melted down 1 pound of wax. I melted it to 180 degrees and I poured my first candle with nothing in it, no scent, no dye, nothing. Then I added 3 drops of red dye to what was left of the pound. So it was about a half a pound. And then I poured a melt at about 175 degrees. And then I allowed the wax to cool as much as I possibly could allow it. And then I poured a final cold pour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys all of the different waxes that we offer for soy wax for containers, and I'm going to show you the results that I got from the different temperatures and how they react to dye. So let me get started. So the first one that I have to show you is the Millennium soy wax. So here is the finish. There is definitely some pulling away from the glass. There's some wet spots. There's the finish that I got. A little bit bumpy, but it's smooth, but there is a few bumps. So that, and I don't see a ton of frosting on that, but it's hard to tell when there's no dye. So then I did my melt at 175. So there's the finish that I got from the melt. There is some frosting, a little bit of a crack down the middle. There's the back. So definitely is some frosting, which, I mean, it's soy, so it's hard to avoid the frosting. So then the Millennium, I was able to get the Millennium down to 105 degrees to do this pour. There is some wet spots around the outside, definitely some frosting. So unfortunately, I didn't do any fragrance this time around, so I'll have to do another video on how they all perform fragrance-wise, but I just wanted to show you guys the different finishes because I get asked questions all the time about what is the best soy wax to use. So the next one that I did was the Freedom Coconut. So this is not the color that you get from Freedom Coconut. This is the color that you get when you don't fully clean out your pour pot, but that is what happened when I poured it at 180. There is some sinking around the wick and a bit of a crack. So, and as far as pulling away from the glass, not a whole lot of pulling away from the glass. I do see some frosting. Then we did the melt. So it was 175 with 3 drops and about a half a pound of wax. And you'll notice that with the soy, you're not going to get a true solid color because soy wax acts kind of like white paint would. If you were to put 3 drops of red paint into it, you're not going to get a nice bright solid red. You're going to get more of a pink. So that's what you're seeing here. So there is some frosting. Again, it's soy wax. Soy wax, it's natural for soy wax to frost. So then my last one, I was able to get to 110. So what you're gonna see is so these bumps here, because I allowed it to cool so long, there was a lot of wax buildup around the inside of my pour pot. And what I tried to do was take my hair dryer and remelt that after I had poured the candle and poured that in on top. So that's what you're seeing with the bumpy area there. This is what the smooth area is, what it would have looked like had I have not tried to save that wax. So that is a lesson learned, that because this wax wasn't heated to the high temperature, that's why we're getting that bumpiness there. But otherwise it would have been smooth, and it has a beautiful, no frosting around the outside. It has a lovely glass adhesion and no frosting. So that's really nice. So that was 110. So then next we'll go to the container soy, which is a pure soy. And so surprisingly enough, a fairly nice, smooth, shiny top. Glass adhesion's not bad, which actually kind of surprises me because usually container soy is a lot bumpier than that. But I was quite happy with the finish on that actually. So then I did the melt. So there's the melt. And again, not as much frosting as what I would have expected for a pure soy. And then finally my cold pour, which I usually actually felt that you get a better finish with the cold pour, and it does have a nice finish around the outside. There is a little bit of frosting, but the top, it's very bumpy, very frosted. So that's why we don't recommend dyeing the container soy, because it looks a lot better when you don't put any dye in it. So then we're going to move to Freedom. Freedom is by far our most popular wax. We sell a lot of Freedom. So this is why. Beautiful, nice, smooth tops, nice finish, good glass adhesion. Then we did the melt. So there is still some frosting there, and you can see on the back there is frosting there as well. Cold pour. Poured it at 105, and that was a struggle to get it to 105, because I found that the more pure soys, they stayed clear right down to like 105 and below, whereas the soy wax blends, they started getting cloudy, like 120 range, sometimes even a little bit warmer than that. So I found that quite interesting actually. So anyways, my cold pour, that was an error on my part. Something dropped on it, but nice glass adhesion, very little frosting when it was poured cold. So then we're going to move to the Golden Brand 464, which is very similar to the Freedom. It's a different manufacturer. So there is my hot pour at 180, nice smooth finish, good glass adhesion. I don't see a lot of wet spots. And I should say that I stored these candles in a room in my house that doesn't have a whole lot of heat. So I was actually expecting there to be a lot more of the wet spots, because the coldness does help make the wax condense more and pull away from the glass. So I'm actually quite impressed. I just kept them in a cardboard box, so I don't know, I guess that must have helped. So then we'll do the melt first. A little bit of frosting, not too bad. Same on the back, a little bit of frosting, but not too bad for soy. And then the cold pour. Huge crack around the outside. Little bit of frosting, good glass adhesion though. I don't see any wet spots, so very interesting. Then we're going to go to the Golden Brand 444. I have never actually worked with the Golden Brand 444, and I was really, really impressed with the results that I got. So there's the top, nice, smooth finish, really good glass adhesion there. I was quite impressed with how that worked out. So that was the 180. And then, we did the melt. So a little bit of frosting, but not too bad. And then finally, our cold pour, I was able to get this one down to 108. I guess I didn't mention, so that one was 110 for the Golden Brand 464. That one was 105. I think I did mention that, but so this one was 108. So there's the finish. There's a little bit of a crack, but fairly smooth. Maybe a tiny bit of frosting, but not too bad. Pretty good glass adhesion there. And then we have the Golden Brand 415. So the Golden 415 is similar to the container soy, a pure soy wax. So without the botanical additives that help to smooth out the consistency. And there you can see why those botanical additives are added in there. This was poured hot, bumps, craters. The glass adhesion, not bad, but that's why those botanical additives are put in there, to help smooth out the consistency. So then we did the melt. There is still frosting there. Definitely some frosting. And then the cold pour, this one was down to 105. There's still frosting, which is to be expected for a pure soy. Frosting, a little bit of wet spots there I can see. And then for the candle wax, the last one we have here is the Nature Wax C3. So there is some cracking, poured at 180. There's There's a few wet spots, but not too bad. So then we did our melt. There's some frosting. It's soy wax. That's what soy wax does. It's hard to get away from it. When you want to work with soy, you're going to be dealing with some of the frosting. It's really hard to get away from because that's just what soy does. It's little crystals that have formed in the wax after it's gone through a vast temperature change. So melting your wax, pouring your candle, and having it set back up, that's what happens. Now, the cold pour one, I got down to 115. It was getting really slushy around the outsides. Again, this is one that, so this is what it would have looked like had I have just poured it and left it. I had a whole bunch of wax around the outside of my pour pot, used my hair dryer and melted, and that is what I got from that. So, and then the last wax that I tested was the Golden Brand 494, which is a melt and tart wax. It's made specifically for melts and tarts, and it's not meant for being a candle, because some of the botanical additives that are used in it will clog your wick. So they only recommend it for tarts and melts, and I can, let me show you why. 180, beautiful, nice, smooth finish. Poured at 175 with dye. Beautiful, nice, smooth finish. Almost no frosting on it. Really nice finish. Poured cold. Maybe a tiny bit of frosting, but not bad. So really, the 494, you can almost pour that at any temperature and get a decent finish from it. So that's all of the waxes. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to burn these candles. I put an HTP 105 in all of those, and I put a medium premier cotton wick in all of these. So I'm going to burn these and then show you guys the finish, and then once they've reset, and then I'm also going to pop those melts out to show you what that looks like, so you can see which one works best for melts. Okay, so I've burned the candles and I've allowed them to cool and set back up, and now I'm going to show you what the wax looks like after the candle has burned and cooled and reset. So we'll start with the Golden Brand 464. It's a soy wax blend. That is the one that wasn't dyed, and I had a medium premier wick in that one. And then this was the HTP 105, same Golden Brand 464. It had 3 drops of dye in it, and it's pretty smooth. I do see one little bubble there, but for the most part, it's pretty smooth. Now we'll move on to the Golden Brand 415. Now it's a natural soy, pure soy, and it already had a few bumps on it before we even burned the candle. So as you can see, it is very, very bumpy. The one that had some dye in it, not as bumpy, but still fairly bumpy. And that's totally normal for a pure soy wax. And it's not really something that customers will worry about. If your candle smells great, that's mainly what a customer is concerned with. It's generally the candle maker who gets most upset about these bumpy tops. But I wanted to show you because I do get asked a lot. I get questions from customers who are very concerned that they've done something wrong because they've made a candle, it had a beautiful smooth top when they made the candle, and then as soon as they did their test burn, it's all bumpy and it doesn't affect the performance of your candle. So try not to worry about it so much, but let's carry on. So this is the Nature Wax C3, another blend. It's not as bad as the 415, but there is still some bumps. And then this was the one that had the dye in it. And then we'll move on to the Golden Brand 444. Again, a little bit bumpy, but not bad, fairly smooth actually. And this one didn't have any frosting on it when I first poured the candle. So it's fairly smooth, but as you can see now we have frosting after doing the burn, which is interesting. So then we'll do the Freedom Coconut. So it is really smooth, which is normal for coconut. Coconut is a very soft wax, so it will give you a nice smooth consistency. And there's the one with the dye. So then we'll do our Freedom Soy. Freedom Soy is very smooth. There is the bumps around the wick because that's where the most heat would have been in the wax. And then there's the dye. And then our Container Soy, again, another pure soy. So yep, you do see it. You don't see it as much as you see it in the 415, but there is definitely the bumps and craters there. And then the dyed one. And then last, we have the Millennium Soy. So it does have the bumps and craters as well. And then there's the one with the dye. So as you can see, soy wax is naturally a wax that is going to have bumps and craters, and it's going to have some frosting on it. This is all natural and normal with soy wax. If it's something that you just can't seem to live with, then it's probably best for you to go with something more along the lines of a coconut. Try the Freedom Coconut. We have Nature Wax C6. We have the Coconut Blend. We also have paraffin. I know that many of you want to avoid paraffin, but paraffin is actually a very beautiful wax to work with. Great scent throw, nice smooth finish. So those would be the options that I would recommend if the issues that are normal and natural with soy wax are just something that you can't live with. So, all right, so let's pop out these melts. So I'm gonna start with the waxes that I generally wouldn't recommend for melts because they're a little bit too soft. So this one is the Freedom Coconut Wax. So actually popped out not too bad. It's a little bit greasy. It does crumble apart a little bit. There's the frosting that we saw. So that is the Freedom Coconut. So then we're gonna move on to, it's very greasy, the coconut soy, or sorry, the Container Soy. Let's move it to Container Soy. So there's the Container Soy, very crumbly. But I mean, it still comes out. So like really it's up to you what wax you want to use for your melts, but like it crumbles apart. Then we're gonna do the Millennium. Well, it came out not too bad, but there is the frosting. So if you're gonna color them, I don't know that I would use that one. Now Golden Brand 415. Oh, so that was the Golden Brand 415. Pick up the little pieces that came along with it. Now this is the Nature Wax C3. So it came out in a fairly large chunk there. All right, now we're gonna do the Freedom. So there's the Freedom Soy Wax. Golden Brand 464. Not too bad. Golden Brand 444. And And finally, the Melt and Tart Wax, oops, for Golden Brand 494. So there you see the difference. It's harder, and it took a little bit more to crack it, but it snaps and you get the shape of the melt. So really all of them can be used. There's no reason why you can't use any of these for your melt. It's just that a lot of the container soy waxes are soft and they will crumble apart and it'll be hard to get a good solid melt out. So that's why we recommend the 494. So I hope this video helped to give you a little bit of clarity on what you'll get from each of the waxes that we offer here at Village Craft & Candle, and help you find the one that's going to give you the finish that you're looking for.